our work session for October 1st, 2019. Please silence or shut off your cell phones and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, did you want to try Mark again? He just called in?
I'm here.
All right, Mark.
Good morning, Mark.
We're just getting going. Deletions or additions to the agenda, Melanie?
Yep, we have two additions. We have the VAWA grant and financial software purchase.
Okay. Board, do you have any additions or deletions?
None for me.
I'm good. All right, so we'll get going right along. Rhonda, you're here. We have a request before the Board of Commissioners. Come on up, and everybody knows, I believe, but for record, state your name and hear
My
what you
name
have
is
to say.
Rhonda Dial, and I wanted to request you guys to consider waiving the dump fees when I take the roof off of Animal House. I was going to do it before winter came along, but some things got in the way, and my plan was kind of to have it done by now, but some things have gotten in the way. And originally, when I planned it and got a discount on all the roofing supplies and all that, I did not plan in dumping fees and renting that blue dumpster. And it's gonna be quite a bit. So I was gonna ask you guys if you would consider to please waive the dump fees just to throw away the stuff from the old roof.
Okay, we've never waived the dump fees. As you probably know, we've no longer contract out the landfill. We run it ourselves. So
Right.
it'd be unusual for us to waive dump fees. Are you a nonprofit?
Yes.
501c3?
Yes, I am.
And so you're wanting to do this under your kennel business, I guess?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we don't make the decisions in our work session. We'll take everything under consideration, make the decisions later. I have to be honest with you, I'm one commissioner. It's not traditional for us to waive landfill fees whenever we're trying to get the landfill established and under our own operations. And so we do have a long-term loan there that we need all the revenues we can. I'm not saying it's an absolute not, but I want to be
Right.
straightforward with you.
Right, I understand, and I just thought, what could it hurt to ask?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Do you have an estimate on what the cost would be for the dumping?
I really have no idea. My friend that just put a roof on his house, besides all the labor and the materials and everything for the blue dumpster and the dumping of his roof, his old roof, was around $1,000. Now, I believe a couple hundred of that was to rent the blue dumpster. But this was something I did not take into account. It never even crossed my mind. I was so busy working on the other part of it. I have people willing to donate their time to do the roof and everything, but I just never thought about that expense of it, and that's a pretty big deal. It took me car washes and snow cones and all kinds of stuff to come up with the money for the supplies for the roof, and then they were kind enough to give me a discount on the supplies, and I was all like ready to do it, and then my friend that just put a roof on his house, like I said, well, this is an additional $1,000. Whoa, that's a lot of money for me. So like I said, I will understand, if you guys say no, I get it, that the dump isn't paid for and this isn't something you traditionally do, but like I said, I didn't think it would hurt to ask.
Absolutely. So if we consider anything, it's only the weight of the material, the blue
Yes.
dumpster and all that.
Absolutely,
That's a private business.
absolutely. I'm just literally asking for the weight of the stuff, for those fees to be waived, and I don't foresee it happening before we have winter and then it clears up.
You think this is gonna be a spring or summer project?
Yes, I was planning on doing it when I had asked to come to your meeting and ask for it before. I was planning on doing it before winter, but things just didn't come together. The guys that are donating their time both have full-time jobs and this and that, and it just wasn't gonna happen. I felt like if I took that roof off that house, it's a huge project, and I felt like I was gonna be sorry. I felt like it was gonna be raining and snowing into
After
my
having
house.
a
Yeah.
inch
So-
and a half of snow yesterday,
Yeah.
you're probably making a
Yep.
good choice.
Yikes. All right, well, thank you for your time,
Yep.
and I also wanted to thank you guys. I saw some ordinances that you guys signed off on, I believe in January, about animal control and stuff like that. I believe it was in January, I could be wrong about what month it is, but you guys signed off on some ordinances that are gonna make it easier when we do get animal control and implement things. It's gonna be pretty cut and dry, what the ordinances are here, and I wanted to thank you guys for that.
Well, I don't believe we've updated our ordinance. You might have heard about our existing ordinances, and I don't know about the town, though. You're within the town limits, so you're governed by the town ordinances in the city limits. So I'm not sure if you're molding over maybe something that the town had taken into consideration, but I don't remember.
I believe we did have something come before us in
Did we?
January or
We did.
February.
You
but,
did, I have
I'd
it
have to go
on,
back and look at exactly what the specifics were.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have it in black and white at my house, and it was you guys that signed off on it.
okay, I'm trying to think of what it was that we done. Do you
It
remember?
was just
Melanie?
really basic stuff, it pretty much goes along with Oregon laws, with, leash laws and leaving solid waste laws.
Is that
and
something that the sheriff has brought
But-
before us?
I'm not entirely sure. I know wasn't there an adjustment to some fees?
That we have not.
There was adjustment, you're absolutely right, we did do some fees, that there are fee hearing, there was that,
And we adjusted the fee in the dog ones,
yeah.
Yeah.
but we haven't
Yeah,
adjusted
that-
the dog ones.
So anyways, I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but
That's
thank
all
you
right.
for.
That's all right, you guys signed off on it, and it's good stuff, so thank you anyway.
All right, thank you.
All right,
So, when will I find out what you guys voted on this?
well, we could take it under consideration tomorrow. I guess where I'm at, and I don't want to speak for James, where I'm at is if this is a spring or summertime project, it really sort of gives you a chance to do your own fundraising to try to cover that cost. Be straight honest with you on this, so I'm leaning towards you have time to figure this out on your own, be perfectly honest with you.
Like I said, when I first asked to, be heard at the meeting, I was planning on doing it this year before the snow came, so
Yeah,
if you guys have to tell me no, that's fine, I'll figure it out.
yeah, so, but we can take it under consideration tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right.
All right, we got 5 minutes before our next timed item, and Barb and others may be running a little bit late tomorrow, or on that, so.
Okay.
Looking down, let's go ahead and take that Adel Store OLCC permit, and look at that.
Yep.
So we have that before us. This is the Adel Store, and this would be ratification. So I would like to go ahead and get it taken care of today and take it off the agenda for tomorrow. Commissioner Albertson, you signed this, and this isn't unusual to sign these so that private businesses can get things through the state process. So asking for ratification of the signature of Mark Albertson for the Adel Store LCC license application.
Yeah, the young man that came in, he had to leave the state, and he's the new owner of the Adel Store. And as you know, that without a liquor license, the Adel Store kind of makes it hard to make it. And so they wanted to get it signed as soon as possible. So I need that we ratify it later, so.
Yep, it's not unusual for these at all, so entertain a motion for ratification.
I make a motion that we ratify the liquor license for the Adel Store.
I'll second.
The signature of
Okay.
Robinson. All right, thank you, Mark.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded to ratify the signature of the OLCC license application. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Mark. And so if that's on for tomorrow, we'll just take it off. Get that ratification done there. Looking to see,
So is Judy Clark not going to be able to make it today?
Shut it down.
okay, thank you for that's exactly where I was going. If Judy's not going to be able to make it, we don't have to wait on her.
I thought you'd said that she was out of town, just wanted to confirm.
So let's look at the first one that has to do with public health. It's contract with OHA. Either one of you able to talk about that contract with OHA and Judy's behalf?
So this is just a contract stating that she is certified provider through us, and it's a 2-year contract. Much like the ones that we signed earlier.
Okay, and so naturally, we'll consider and sign this tomorrow, and legal counsel has reviewed it. Been sent to legal counsel, I'm assuming. Did Judy do that, or did it go with our packet to legal counsel?
I sent it to her. I don't know if she did too, but.
Okay.
Okay.
So before tomorrow, make sure that legal counsel, would you please make sure legal counsel reviewed it?
I'll double check.
Get a thumbs up for the legal content on it.
Where are we with the stamp?
It's not here yet, sorry.
It's not here yet, okay.
But-
That's what I was curious about.
And
that.
thank you for getting that in process.
That's awesome.
So Second Amendment to OHA Agreement 15981A.
So they're getting more money than they anticipated. For, I don't remember what the fees are, or the services.
Well, state support for public health.
For TPEP and state report support. I don't know what TPEP is, but.
And other, tobacco prevention and education program. The increase on the first one, $7,445, and then increase on the tobacco prevention is $5,951. So we'll act on that tomorrow.
There's a full increase of $13,000 there.
Yep, so we have that for tomorrow also. Well, I should ask any questions or thoughts on
Mark, do you have any questions?
I do.
All right. And I'm anticipating that the weekend group is going to run even later than 9:15. So Lakeview Area Smoke Management MOU. Mark, have you had a chance to review this? I know you're on the committee for the smoke management. Whenever we had Forest Service BLM before us, we had a couple of questions. Has everything been redone to your satisfaction, Mark?
Yeah, it has.
And I never marked it in this one. I had the question on the one part before. So as long as you've reviewed this, legal counsel's reviewed it, it'll be up for addition, or not addition, for consideration tomorrow. Any questions on it at this time?
None from me.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions.
All right.
It's pretty
Excuse me.
straightforward.
All right, perfect timing, look at that, 9:15. 9:15, and we're right on schedule on our agenda. I'd like to welcome you guys, Weekend Foundation.
Did they get a speeding ticket?
I don't know if they were nodding or they had the potential of getting one.
Isn't
So-
it, can we plead the fifth in it?
Yeah, you can.
Yes.
Anybody can plead the fifth. So if you'd like to come up, bring a couple extra chairs for everybody or whoever wants to present. And
It's a little warmer in here than it is.
Yeah, it's a cold day.
And for the record, state your name so our minutes are correct.
Yeah, my name's John Trieber. I'm the Vice President of the Weekend Foundation and the head of the North Lake County Small Business League.
So welcome in your request coming today, and I asked our planner to be here that runs our land sale, and he just walked in. Look at that timing today, incredible. And so Mark has worked on this with you.
Yes.
I asked Darwin as his second duty is selling of our foreclosed land, so we're ready for your presentation request.
I believe you all got the email with the proposal in it, basically where we're at with the We Can Foundation. We have our fingers in so many pies at this point with the Ruts to Roads program, the cemetery, the Small Business League, which is taking off exponentially at this point. We need to be able to move out of our current lack of facility and find a more permanent situation where we can have all of our files, everything all in one place, everything orchestrated so we're not spread out quite as far as we are now. The property in question that we're looking at, tax account number 5736, we went down, looked at it, reviewed the footage. It would be an excellent candidate. The existing house structure would suffice as an office and a base of operations, a place to have our committee meetings, with some work, of course. But the lot itself is big enough for the small business incubator, which is our main focus at this point. We have so many people in North Lake County that are running businesses out of their houses, out of their garages, you know, they're flying under the radar. And we're trying, with the Small Business League, what we're trying to do is get that incubator out there to where we can have stalls in it, where they can have a place to have their storefront, basically. And we can have we plan on having monthly meetings. We work with the Ford Foundation, with the Economic Development Council, and with the Lake County Chamber of Commerce to provide monthly meetings where we can do instruction on different topics, whether it be advertising, networking, taxes, business-specific or industry-specific things. Like we have people that want to cook for a living. Well, they may or may not know the ins and outs of the state regulations. Just a variety of things. We need to have that location to where we can meet, have that type of environment where it's not at one of the local restaurants where people are coming in and out and it's a distraction.
So I, conceptually, and where you guys are working, I commend you very much. I asked Darwin to come in to find out what our guidelines are as far as the county is, and I don't know that he's been able to get a hold of legal counsel yet, but he's back there nodding, so I'm going to let him give us a little, what our ability to donate, to sell for $1 or whatever, what are our guidelines on foreclosed properties?
Thanks, all. I won't come, I'll just speak loudly up to the table, but this property was acquired through foreclosure, through tax foreclosure. So unfortunately, there's some rules that guideline how we can transfer these, and there's only one way in which you can transfer, and it's to a government body for, you know, public use. So recognizing that you guys are definitely wanting to do a public use kind of thing, that's fine, but the government body kind of situation, it's clearly defined in statute what that is. So I can't recommend you guys, you know, just donating this property. I wish we could. I wish we could sell it for $1, but our land sale policy actually, you know, governs how we get rid of properties, and it is, you know, well spelled out in that policy, which can change. And you know, if you guys got legal counsel's advice to do differently than what I'm recommending, you can certainly do that. But the property is listed on the for sale list right now at, I think, 40% the real market value, which is like $22,000 and change. And if it doesn't sell by this coming May, then it would reduce down to 25% the real market value, which is still probably in the $15,000 range. But
So what's the time limit on, does that stay in that process of just going down, or does it have to sell, or at some
yeah,
point,
so
does it
the
just
lowest we
end up-
can ever sell something would be 15%. And that's also defined in statute, you know, same ORS's, chapter 271. So if, you know, if we were to want to try to sell it for that, you know, and legal counsel may say that that's an option, but that would be the lowest by state law that you could sell any property
So there,
that we get through tax
So-
foreclosure. I mean, if we acquire things differently.
where I would like to get to with the board today and tomorrow is, if we like the concept, we like what is before us, then we take this off of being for sale and we work out how we get it to you. The straightforward is it's 22,000. Okay, that's what. We can work with our legal counsel and find out if we can waive that down to the 15%. We can look at so many different things, but if the Board of Commissioners support the concept of this, we can take it off of being for sale right now for the public to lock it up, probably not, to secure it, so you guys can, we can come up with a plan. And I'm talking without knowing where the other two on the board stand. But there's ways that we can take this off to give time enough to work on this, to find out the right structure, work with legal counsel and all that, if it fits. I really like the idea of the incubator to foster business to start. Ours, the way we operate ours, we start out at a smaller amount, monthly rent. Next year it goes up, it goes progressive to try to get them to build within the community, to move out of the incubator, to move on. And that's, you know, we have that all set, and so you don't have to reinvent that. You can plagiarize some of our stuff if you like that. So the incubator part, I am individually very proud of how you guys are working and taking some ownership locally. You know, I've done this a lot of years, and it's been that battle north and south. I don't even like hearing it, no matter how bad we work one way or the other. Whenever it's, the ownership is taken within the people right there, it goes a lot further. So I'm really liking the direction you guys are going. So we just have to get through some of the hoops if this is supported by the board. Darwin, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I get to be the bearer of bad news again, and this goes to my main hat, which is planning director, because that, as you guys recognize, is an A2 zone property, which, you know, setting up commercial businesses and, you know, whether it's an office or whatever you want to call it, I mean, how it seems should fit better in a commercial zone, which
Yeah,
there are, but.
The problem we have is the main lack of commercial real estate up there, as you and I have discussed. It's, the county has set up very specific boundaries as far as where the commercial properties lie. Unfortunately, the town has outgrown those boundaries, and the problem is not being addressed as far as rezoning. I mean, there's a handful of people that own the bulk of the vacant land, and they're not letting go of it.
Yeah, we got that.
So that's, an application can be made for a rezone, but I'll tell you that, you know, just my planner expertise, says that may be the case, and you also alluded to the fact that there are vacant lands and that they're being held on to by people who are unwilling to sell possibly. So that's the problem, because the state will look at the land and say, you've got more than 50% of your commercials vacant, and they're also, you know, dividable lots and all that kind of stuff too. So it's a bigger problem that we've got where people are continuing to hold on to lands that are, you know, really a good resource for that community for these types of purposes. That's a bigger problem. But unfortunately, land use can't have an incubator building in an agricultural zone. It can't have, you know, additional housing on that zone. I mean, it would require a rezone. And I'm just saying that that law is probably unlikely to meet any justification for a rezone.
What's the possibilities of doing this through a CUP process?
So the only, like, possible route I could possibly see this under would be like a campground kind of situation for the housing part of it. The incubator building, I still have no idea how that would work. I mean, if you're gonna do a commercial use in conjunction with farm use, which is a conditional use permit,
Yes.
it has to be in conjunction with farm use, and the farm use element would be kind of the tricky part there.
So to have just this 3 acres, I think it's 3 acres.
Yeah,
Try to get it rezoned to commercial, the process and the time frame, how long does that take before we get an answer back, Darwin?
To get it rezoned?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you right now that it's not likely, but you could go through the process, it would take you 6 months and likely appeal. I mean, giving you just the true, I mean, we got people watching us.
Well, that's the reason why we have these
Yeah,
work
exactly,
sessions, is
yeah.
to try to figure these things out.
And really, the building itself, I mean, it's a home, but, I mean, to upgrade that for commercial use would be a building permit nightmare too. I mean, it would be pretty costly to make that into a.
Yeah, when you say commercial, it triggers a
Yeah.
lot of things in the building code
And I
side
mean,
of the world.
It's a rough shape.
Sometimes our wants and common sense doesn't come in.
Oh, I myself am opening a rather unique business up there, and Darwin and I have had a few headaches trying to figure out how to do it.
So,
But I'm fully, I love everything you're doing, to me, it fits in residential and commercial zones, and
Yeah, and that's the
I
problem.
wish we could find a lot that was side by side to do both of these things on there, because they'd be outright permitted in the other zones, but in this zone, it's
Okay,
certainly.
Mark, did you have something?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm like you guys, I'm really tickled with Barb and her group for doing what they're doing with their community. Totally excited about it. I think the zoning issue, is something that we could work around. Remember, we got that new Senate Bill number 2 that allows Eastern Oregon counties that undertake economic opportunity analysis to designate up to 50 acres outside the urban growth boundaries for industrial and other employment uses, notwithstanding statewide planning goals related to agriculture, forest use, or urbanization.
I don't think they fit, they're not incorporated, so they don't have an urban growth boundary or anything.
But
And
it's
also, I don't
outside of
think-
the urban goals.
Yeah, and it also didn't
Right.
include ag lands that can be switched to that 50.
So you think there might be something there that we can look into that it may fit?
Right, and so what I'm thinking too is, I want these guys, I don't want you guys to get discouraged whether this property works or not. Let's continue to focus on what we want to do there. And we'll find the property and we'll make the property fit the use, is the way I'm looking at things. And, if we can get these guys to sharpen their pencil on, you want the veterans in there, how's that gonna work? You want to, safe housing, how's that gonna work? And how, get those specifics worked out, and then we'll find the land in the meantime. It's kind of how I'm looking at it, but the actual way that things are going with this group, I'm totally jacked about it. I love it.
So, I appreciate everything you say. The problem is the zoning and the lack of commercial land available in Christmas Valley, and we went through this several times over the years. And across the road from there, doesn't the Park and Rec own that?
Actually, what you were referring to would be the Thorn Street Park. That facility is actually owned by the Family Progress Team, which is a nonprofit headed up by Patty Effingham.
Is it zoned, what is it? It's zoned,
It's ag.
it's ag.
It's agriculture, and that's what you're gonna run into, almost everything up there is, which is where, if we had an urban growth boundary, it needs to be expanded.
So how about this, speaking to the board, how about if we considered taking this one off of being for sale to give time for us to look at rezoning, the group to look at the options for it, and Bill did look at all. I have not talked with legal counsel on this, things we can do. I appreciate Darwin very much. He's straightforward and honest. Rezoning and that stuff, we're governed by
Oh, yeah.
laws, and our wants may be one thing, but to be able to change those laws is another thing. But that's where I'm leaning, is to take this off of the for sale for anybody just to take, to give some time and relook at this in 30 or 60 days. Is the We Can group still interested with that concept, with the uniquenesses that you hear on land use, trying to get it rezoned and all that?
Yeah, like I said, we're very interested in that particular parcel. It's close enough to town to allow the foot traffic and the traffic to come through that would generate business in the incubator, but it's far enough out where it's not gonna cause a traffic nightmare, right around Chevron, that particular area. And we're stubborn. We have no problem fighting it.
Is there water out there?
Municipal
water?
It should be on municipal water, yes.
Okay.
Because
Is there
it's
an actual
between,
well?
I don't think so. It's between Pinion and Thorn on the
Yeah.
west side.
Yeah, I know where it is, yeah.
And that should be on municipal water.
So there's
city
things
water.
for you guys to check out?
Dad,
for
do you
that.
remember if Fred was on city water? He
As
was,
far as
wasn't
I
he?
know, he was on city water, yes.
It's not that far if you need it. If you're going to be going commercial, you're going to be, those are the
Yes.
things you guys need to take into consideration for your cost. You don't have a sewage plant out there, so you have septic. And you're talking commercial, that puts a whole other guidelines on it. So if we give 30, 60 days for you guys to research some things, you may come back to us and say, this is cost prohibitive to be able to make this into commercial, we're not interested, and we put it back up for sale, is an option. Or you might come back and say, well, we found every place we think we can make this work. But
And we've networked, we've talked about the utility issues and things like that. We've networked through some of the local contractors. I've talked to a few of them, and they are willing to help us out if we need to
well, I
expand the septic or fix.
really recommend for you to get our building official and sit down with him,
Yeah.
because a commercial has so many different rules and regulations compared to residential building.
Oh, Ken and I are, yeah.
Yeah.
We've chatted.
Along with our on-site guy
Yep.
for septic and that stuff, because it all changes. So that board, I'm sort of, and Darwin, that's within our guidelines to be able to take that off of for sale.
It's kind of a gray area, but we can just put a hold on it. I mean, no one's shown any interest in it,
Well,
ever, so.
yeah, well,
It's been
the
over
thing
there.
is, we've withheld other properties and kept them in county ownership. So I think it's probably, if it's a gray area, we're going to turn it black, we can make it happen, maybe that one.
Even if we have to lease it for 6 months to them, for $1 or whatever it needs to be.
So I hear from you, Mark, it sounds like to take this off of for sale, to give, and maybe it's 90 days, I don't know, of time to re-look at this. You're in support of doing that?
Yeah.
James?
Yeah, no, I'm more than fine with that.
Okay, so I believe that tomorrow we need to formalize that, give us a chance to review that with legal counsel, make sure we are in the gray area, we're able to do that. And so tomorrow, I think we ought to consider at least 90 days,
Yeah.
because government does move pretty slow.
And I would like to figure out exactly what the gray area is that Darwin's referring to and make sure that we have that all clear with legal counsel before we make that decision.
That's,
And then, but I think what they're working on is great. I think an incubator building is a huge need in that area for any kind of economic and business development.
And we're just trying to get people out of the shadows. And it'll sort out the people that are just doing it to make a little side money and don't want to pay the taxes, or the people who are just don't know or don't have the ability to grow out of where they're at.
And want to actually throw a business plan together and actually give it a shot.
Yeah.
See what it actually takes to get
Well,
this
that
off the
takes some
ground.
to do that.
Absolutely.
And that's where the Economic Development Council and the Chamber are bolstering this particular, we have a meeting on the 8th.
Yep, you build a support group and everything in order to
Yep.
help that person along and educate them on what they need in order to.
And
make
there is
business
some,
success.
if you look at the proposal, we did touch on the safe house idea in there with what we wanted to do. And the incubator building, of course, is, I mean, not much more than putting in a hay barn.
You guys have quite a vision, and I appreciate having that vision. It takes years to get there.
Oh, yes.
But if you don't start someplace, you never get there.
Exactly. We're talking, we'll probably won't be done with all this for 2 years, at least, if not longer.
Or 20.
Okay, exactly. But if we don't start now, if we wait 5 years, then all it's gonna do is escalate the expenditures, and who knows what property's gonna be available, plus we'll be 5 years later into the process.
Well, one of the things that actually kind of caught my interest was the living veterans site.
Yes.
That you have in there. And Darwin, you and I spoke a little bit yesterday as far as, we were looking at conditional use concept. For one dwelling, how many different individuals could you have in there? And would it be more feasible if, you were talking about the campsite concept? Would it be better to have more like tiny houses or something that have multiple smaller dwellings?
Yeah, so there's a whole lot of land use issues, so if you weren't to have the incubator building and just left it in its current zoning, the best thing I could think of that you could do would be like a private campground. Which,
Do the private park thing like you.
yeah, similar to that, so that you could then, set up some spaces that, you could put veterans in, campers temporarily or whatever the case might be, and then, try to transition from that while working on, rezone or something like that. That could be the first
To
start.
be like a, yeah, because you could use the building, because the building actually, I didn't go in and look around I stuck my head in the door, it was open. The bones look fairly sturdy. I'm not a huge fan of the construction process used to build it, but it's still there, so that's gotta say something. The roof does need attention. The trailer, we planned on transitioning out, getting a hold of a contractor, getting rid of the park model mobile that's part of this whole setup, and just bringing it back to a stick-built building, if that's even possible. I have not checked out the wiring, the breaker boxes, anything like that, of course. But the bones of it look to be solid. And if you have the solid bones, as we all know, that's your expense. I mean, anybody can do sheetrock, just to bring that kind of stuff back is fairly inexpensive and easy. The wiring, of course, would be different because you're talking commercial use, you'd have to get a hold of a contractor to have that evaluated professionally, which is something that came to mind as we were discussing this. Would the county, if they did put a hold on that property, would the county have a problem with us going in and evaluating the building for feasibility? Not doing anything to it or,
I don't see where that would be a problem at all.
Especially with like Ken or someone like that, and make sure that.
It's in county ownership, so we can give permission, people go in and out of it or whatever.
Yes, we just want to make sure.
We can also have people trespass if you run into that problem of people that's tearing it up.
There has been evidence of that. I have pictures on my phone. The doors were all open, there's stuff scattered around.
There's gonna be vacant things get vandalized, so in the matter of time, I do need to get Mr. Martin up here, so.
Yes.
Tomorrow we'll make that decision. I don't believe you need to be present unless you wanted to be. The board, pretty much, we have to check out some legalities of that. And if you want to be present, you're welcome. If you want to call in, you can do that also. So if you decide to call in, coordinate that with Melanie and that part. So.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Awesome.
Thanks for the travel up here.
Not a problem.
Take advantage of Darwin and if the building department's available while you're here.
Oh, we will.
All right,
Thank you.
See you guys.
Mr. Martin, I know your schedule's very busy.
Well, yeah, we're actually arguing motions right now, and the rest of the week's in trials.
So welcome you here to let us know the grant that you would like to apply for.
Correct, and the problem is, so the grant, they opened it up, and I filed, you had to, I think it was applied for by the middle of last month, so I did that. I had in my head wrongly that, I think it was like April 20th, or October 20th. It shows 2 dates, this Friday and October 20th. I had in my head October 20th, I'd have it done. That's wrong. I have to have it filed this Friday. Caitlin's helped me out, and pulled a lot of statistical stuff, so when I do the narrative as far as, so what I'm looking to do is ask them, it's a competitive grant. It's part of the Stop Violence Against Women's Act. Many of the other counties, Grant, Wallowa, both their deputy DAs are funded by this grant, but you have to renew it. Now it's a 3-year grant. So hopefully, you can ask for all kinds of stuff, like Wallowa has an investigator and a deputy DA funded. I just want to at least get it in place that we could have the financing for a deputy DA and then just deal with it. Whatever happens, happens, but get that in place. Otherwise, if we don't do it now, we can't apply for 3 years. And I'm sure everybody knows, but with these competitive grants, we're a frontier county, so we get 5 extra points. So I think as long as I don't screw it up, we should get it. As far as I know, is what I need for sure as an attachment when have everything done Friday is this statement of compliance, which, talking with Caitlin, my understanding is the board signs that. Now this one's a lot, Caitlin administers our non-competitive grant through the same, basically through the DOJ as well. I guess that statement of compliance is pretty short. This one's pretty long. As far as the specifics, there's a match. I'm just watching the video. My theory is we just have to match the percentage of non-grant funds. My theory is that, because Marla is 90% paid by county money, Caitlin's about half, I'm all paid by state money, is it can do the match that way. But quite honestly, that's a theory at the moment. It's gonna flush out by Friday, because it has to be done by Friday. So I was worried once I figured out that this Friday had to have things signed, that we had to somehow get on a schedule so you guys could at least have this to look at. This is pretty unique and entertaining. We probably ought to have legal counsel review. Yeah, and I'm talking to a district attorney that's legal. Well, and that's the thing, and like when we printed out, Caitlin's like, well, it's just like 2 pages and print it. It's 9 at least, and it cites all these, Code of Federal Regular, whatever CFR stands for, Federal, whatever it is. So anyway, I printed that out.
We will have Melanie get it to legal counsel.
Awesome.
And we should be able to act on that tomorrow.
Yeah, we should be able to.
And by getting our signatures, it is part of the process for you to just apply.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, and appreciate, been leaning on Ann and Jake and people that have done this, because it's all new to me, so.
Well,
luckily,
we have a great team of people, so take advantage of them. Mark's on the phone. Mark, or James, any questions?
Mark?
Not from me, Commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I think if once we get legal counsel to go over that and make sure that it's good to go, all you need is our signatures, and then we should be able to get
Tomorrow,
on your way.
Tomorrow's soon enough, or did you?
yeah, like I say, it has to be Friday. Got a lot to do between now and then, and we start trial this afternoon, so.
All right.
But it's gonna happen.
We can get it taken care of by tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much. All right. Do we want to take a break before we listen to these people?
Well, we've already made him wait for 15 minutes.
I saw. All right, let's see, let's hit the, let's go with, which one do you guys want to go with first?
Doesn't matter. I thought Bruce Addington was gonna be here, so I was waiting for him.
For who?
Bruce Addington.
Yes, he said.
I thought he was going to be here.
We
Yeah.
told him it'd be close to 9:30.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's go with the software first.
Okay.
Does anyone have Bruce Addington's number? Maybe we can text him.
Yeah.
Just maybe confirm if he was.
I'll step out, you guys can.
You have it.
start on this.
Okay. All right, Jay, this is sort of your show with Nikki and Ann.
Yeah, so it's we've been dealing with this software, VADM, for 12 years now. It's gotten the job done, but with great difficulty, and it's getting more difficult. And Nikki's been having to build reports manually, and she shouldn't have to be doing that. This company that we're with, VADM, is a Canadian company, and we are the lone holdouts, and that we are their last Oregon client. And they are no longer doing anywhere close to an acceptable job of maintaining their software and updating and keeping us up to date on its reporting abilities.
And giving support.
Absolutely no support.
Yeah, okay. Mark, can you hear okay, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That kind of,
You know, we're not only the last Oregon one, but I believe there are only 3 in the United States. And the other 2 are more, even closer to Canada. They're Minnesota and, I can't remember, Maine or somewhere, but they're not even in the western United States. They're way up there.
they're those places that say about and a, even though they're not Canadian. So anyway, we've done an exhaustive, we started 6 or 7 months ago with an informal polling directors of counties all over the state, and what we heard back was, 3 main companies, Tyler Technologies, Cassell, and Springbrook, but we weren't hearing good things about Springbrook. And so we really looked hard at 2 companies, Tyler Technologies and Cassell, and we loved what we saw with both of them. We feel like they could both be, they would make our lives, especially Nikki, who's the heavy user here, really improve and make our processes more efficient. But really, we just can't continue to use the same software that we're on. We've decided on Tyler Technologies. We like it the best for a few reasons. And once we hit about the 12th year, I think it becomes the cheapest option, cheaper than Cassell. And we looked at both hosted and non-hosted. We would love to have it hosted with the software provider. There would be some advantages to doing that, but the cost was so much that we figured over 25 years it would cost. We would save $500,000 in going non-hosted, which is what we are now. Non-hosted means we have that software and our data on our server. As we talked with our IT department, they told us, there's not really any extra cost to have our software on that big honker, the big server, because we just have a part of that. There's no way this data is going to need its own server. So we're looking at non-hosted with Tyler Technologies. The process is about a 9-month process for us to go live. So if we're going to get there, we need to get started now. What we're looking at is July 1st start date. I've dominated the talk, so.
So many questions naturally. If we went with this, has it went through the appropriate process for us to be able to select them?
Yeah,
We got
Quotes from 3 different
I
providers.
didn't hear the question.
The question is to make sure it follows our process. I believe I don't know the exact cost, but we have a process that we're able to get 3 quotes. If it's over a certain amount, we have to do an RFP process. And I believe that where it would be 2 different
We have
payments.
3 written proposals, so.
And so, just so that we're covered, and just a procedural question, make sure that we've done it appropriately.
And then our fourth company that we consider is Vadim. We have that now. It's in place, it's a very low cost. And we could continue using them.
So, just a process for us as the board is if we gonna act on this tomorrow, we would need for the record that these were the quotes and the reasoning why we went with this one, if it's more or less, or if it's more, but we went with this because it fits. We need to declare why it fits and all that for the process.
Okay.
That.
So do you want us to verbalize the reasons why we like the software?
Whatever legal counsel tells you, if, I don't know the quotes, if this is the lowest quote, the highest quote, if it's higher than the other ones, there's a reason why we're going with it. We need to state that whenever we're spending public dollars, that's different than the lower quotes.
What we're proposing is the lowest cost over time, if we're looking out more than 12 years, and what we're
as long as we're able to make that statement when we make our motions and everything for procedural.
So
the initial cost will appear to be greater, but when you look at time and progression of time and what you get as time goes on,
I'm very good with that. I'm just worried about we follow the process correct. So.
Yeah, we're looking at this as should be the last financial software the county has to convert to. They have the largest market share. They have many clients here in Oregon and the United States. They have that vested interest in maintaining or staying up to date.
So I'm really excited about getting here. You guys know that. You've heard me talk with support and everything. So I just want to make sure the procedural part is done individually as Brad. A little bit of the uniqueness is we have a reserve for this, and we would have to do a resolution to use that reserve within this budget year, correct, Dan? Which is just a matter of another procedural thing, but we do have a reserve that was slated for next year, but we can spend that in this year and then budget for the other part starting the next day, just as long as we as a board know that we're going to have this added part next year. We want to keep that in the back of our mind when it comes to the budget process. Did I articulate that correct way that part needs to go?
Yeah.
I think you guys know that too.
So we have a reserve of $60,000 set aside. In order to get this started, we have to pay half of the total startup costs up front, which the total cost started at $122,345. So we're looking at about $61,000 that we would have to pay as we sign this contract and get started.
So the entirety of the reserve plus, just to get that initial half paid up front.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, honestly, that we have a reserve, it's just a matter of spending it.
That's why we have reserves.
Yep, a little bit earlier than normal, so. We need the actual written proposal and stuff with all those guidelines, and have legal counsel bless it before tomorrow.
And maybe just have some actual documentation of some of the prices and everything else that we have before us when we make our motion.
Okay.
And I think that'd be...
Jim Bailey has reviewed the contract. He had one question about it that I've sent to them. Section H5 has to do with liability. So I haven't heard back on that, but we'll try and get that worked out.
So, and I believe you've already addressed this. I asked anyways when you guys worked on this. Is there any uniqueness, and have you visited with, from Melanie to Brad Brown, and any uniqueness on our IT side of the world? Does this impact anything or added cost to our IT side of the world?
Well, you kind of stated that, didn't you, that there's not really an added cost to having this on our own servers.
Yeah, there shouldn't be. It should be the same situation. We have Vadim on our servers now. They're doing some work to maintain that. It'll be the same situation. In fact, it should be less work because right now they do the updates for Vadim. Tyler Technologies will do the updates for us. So our IT provider won't have to do that.
So I'm not an IT person, I just make a recommendation, make sure and check with Brad Brown in case he may have heard of this company and there may be some uniqueness or anything. I'd rather we
We've
make
talked-
sure everything's correct before we.
Yeah, we've talked with him quite a bit. He provided a quote for software, for financial software, which we've opted not to go with. So it was some uniqueness there, trying to get information from him when he had a vested interest in the decision.
Sure.
So we kind of had to pull away and make this decision about the software independent of him.
So that makes me even more want to make sure that there isn't going to be any added cost for any maintenance or anything on our IT side of it. You know, just, it's better to have that answered up front than to go with it and then he says, oh, well, this is going to cost on our IT contract extra every year to do any maintenance or anything.
I would hope we would not agree to that.
Yeah.
Because we should be able to negotiate and say, no, it was.
I agree with you, Ann, but it's always better to ask the questions if there's going to be an impact.
So right now, too, we have, I don't know if you went into this, Jay, while I was out, but we talked to the City of Talent that converted from Vadum to Tyler just a couple of years ago. And so there was a couple of great things about that conversation. One was they still access their Vadum database. So that preserves a lot of our historic records. But the second thing that was great to talk to them about is Tyler handled all of the conversion. It did not go through their IT staff. Our IT staff should not have to be involved in all of the conversion. So we wanted to limit that cost too, because that has been a cost in the past. But our understanding from Tyler working and converting a Vadum system just a couple years ago, there's no cost to IT staff.
So the contract will probably state exactly that, or it should.
Excellent. Yeah, no, it sounds good.
Yeah. So we don't have nothing to review, so everything you guys know that I'm asking questions because I have no idea what all you guys have researched and done. So I'm hitting it from sort of the blind side. There's nothing in front of me to ask. So we need some information by tomorrow for us to act on this. So, yeah, I'm excited to get there. I really am. But,
I think the information that will be available at your fingertips is going to be very impressive. You will be able to log in, have a dashboard and see real-time financial information.
And everything that I send you, APs and payroll, you'll just be able to push a button and it'll be right there for you as it's happening, even from my computer to yours.
very good.
So
It's awesome.
just information is power. So
Yeah.
it'll be just a lot more information everywhere for everyone.
So it sounds like legal counsel, there's one question on the contract that has to be cleared up. My question for you to make sure with legal counsel is the process part of it. Because
Regarding the RFP
of
process.
this is 122,000, which is more than what we usually can get under with 3 quotes. $75,000 threshold, if I remember correct. So make sure that there's either a rule or something that we as a board can do this through legal counsel without having to do a formal RFP process or this is pretty unique. There's probably a rule of whatever number that we're allowed to do this, especially for the financial side of it. But we need to state that in our motion, so whatever that is followed.
That's fine.
We kind of did an RFP because we picked
Yeah,
the
I mean, you've got 3
companies.
quotes, and in fact 4.
Yeah, we
really,
picked the
so-
companies that had the possibility of providing and sent this is what we need and we
There's
got that from
RFP and
them.
there's quotes. We have 2 things that we do. They're completely separate. It's kind of like, say, it's kind of like an RFP, but it's not an RFP. An RFP is very specific for this, and you write it all out.
Okay.
So, at least that's what I've been told by legal counsel. And there's 2 different processes. So,
We can get that figured out pretty quick, so.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, okay.
All right. Thank sorry, without you being present, did you have any questions, Mark?
I was thinking it.
Well, that's, all that stuff's way over my head, and they can do what they need to do.
Okay.
Sounds good, all right.
Nothing that's beating around the bush.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So next, Bruce, you made it, thank you.
Oh,
Next,
I'm so sorry, I thought it was tomorrow.
Well, it all worked out.
I don't know.
We're running a little bit late, so it's perfect.
Oh, it worked out great.
So, our next item is the Business Oregon Project intake form that's in your packet. We were very fortunate to be awarded the Chrissy grant, $5.6 million. We're still haven't got the notice to proceed yet. Myself and what I call the team, Ann and Dave, and many other players have been working on how to get to the full amount of match. We're very hopeful that during the legislative year, this short term, that we'll get 3.5 million through the legislature. If we do not get that, we have to have the way that we're still going to cover that match. So working with Larry and Ann and Dave, Bruce Addington for Goose Lake Rail, we've came up with a way to be able to move forward on the Chrissy grant, we believe. And I'm going to let Larry and Ann present the direction that could go.
It's a revision after Larry pulls down.
Oh, that's a revision? Okay. Throw the other one away.
Go ahead and sit, yep.
Welcome, Mr. Holzgang.
Okay, please be here. I think we've kind of talked this through before, but for the record, Business Oregon has a loan program that Lake County can tap, and it is a loan to public entities such as Lake County. It can be used for infrastructure of pretty much any kind, including the railroad, and it's called the Special Public Works Fund. And you know, that is a source of funds that Lake County can apply to help cover some of the match requirements for the Chrissy grant. We just updated our interest rates for the Special Public Works, and as of right now, the interest rate on that is 2.81%. The thing I think is most important to you is if you do apply, we come and enter into an agreement for the loan, but you choose not to draw down any funds, there is no penalty. There's no application fee. So.
And there's no interest.
No interest incurred because you didn't draw down any funds. So it can give you a flexible way to bridge the time span between when you make the application to us and when the legislature comes to session and you find out how your request for funding from the state goes through the legislature. But it also has money in place that if things don't go favorably there, you already have a loan in place, so you still have your match.
So,
I've been updated on this by Dave and Ann a little bit already, and so
Okay.
I feel like this is pretty cool.
Thank you. That's where I started, was I didn't know where you were, Mark. I'd asked for everybody to be
I
up.
don't know where Mark, have
updated.
you been updated on some of this?
Yeah, I talked to Ann about it last week.
Excellent.
Okay, so that helps me a lot to follow the public meeting laws and everything, so, what an opportunity to be able to do an application fee, have it sitting there ready if the legislature does not grant us the 3.5. We feel very good working with everybody that we're working with on that. There's good potential for that. So if we didn't get the 3.5 during the short session and this did become a loan, that's where that, we asked Bruce to step in today, is to service this loan, the county general fund or the railroad, either one, through the payments to the county for the railroad, has money to fund this. So with that, Bruce is here, which is, brings opportunity. And I don't want to speak for Bruce, I'll let him speak, but basically is if we did take on this loan, we would go into a contractual agreement with Goose Lake Rail, and they would have an obligation to pay the amount that the loan cost would be, whether it's a yearly payment or a monthly payment, whichever it would be. They would take an obligation through contractual agreement with the county.
And Goose Lake is good with that,
Right, we would have, I would affirm that statement.
Okay, yeah, just wanted to make sure.
That's what we're proposing to do.
So Mark, you said something, sir?
That was what he was going to ask.
Okay.
Because Mark's not in the room, he can't read facial expressions, so I was kinda making sure that there's a few questions thrown out there that are good.
So as a board, we always have to analyze the risk and all that in any time that we're obligating the county to a $3.5 million loan. And the risk is whether we believe that the railroad and the business there is going to be sustainable for the length of the loan. The loan would be a 20-year loan.
Yeah, up to 20 years.
Up to 20 years, I think we would probably amortize out at 20. I think that's what, Bruce, you ran your numbers, you and Toby ran your numbers on this 20 year?
Yes, internally, it appears that the railroad maintenance charge that we charge per car currently will cover the cost of the debt service. And then when the Red Rocks biofuels, their business comes on, that will provide extra money to make sure they got it covered.
So not only would it be able to pay the debt structure back, there would still be some more money that would.
That's what we plan, yes.
And that's what we talked about, is it wouldn't completely delete or depreciate or, that's not the right word, wouldn't take all the money away from normal maintenance and everything, there'd still be some money left over. Because 20 years, there's gonna be maintenance to be done, even if it's
Yes.
So what we're asking for tomorrow is for the board to agree to the loan process and apply for the loan. And that goes for the Chrissy grant, that will show the match for the Chrissy grant. It will allow us to hopefully get the process started. If we were to have to do the loan, they would be the last dollars drawn down. Hopefully, that'd be the plan. They'll draw down the Chrissy dollars first, and these loan dollars would be the tail end of the project.
Okay, and so is that why there was a revision to this where it switched in the project overview, the project name switched from Lake County Chrissy Creek Match to Lake County Railroad Track and Bridge Upgrade? Is that where that revision?
All those revisions came through Larry's suggestion.
That was a recommendation that I made, because what you're applying for is to do work on the railroad.
Correct.
From a purely technical standpoint, we don't provide match just to provide match. We provide match to do work on a utility or a piece of infrastructure that you own. So I wanted the name to reflect that.
Absolutely.
It was going to upgrades on the railroad.
It says construction only, it doesn't, and I think that's great. I just wanted to make sure that was articulated so that Mark had a chance to show that that's what the revision actually was and some of those things.
Yeah.
So,
And
excellent.
What have I missed? I've seen you, I thought you just wanted to say something.
Well, I just wanted to also, for the record, state that this question was asked of the FRA, like if this loan approval would suffice as match, security, and they said, yes, this would suffice. However, the interest expense from the loan would not be an eligible expense under the grant if we were to draw down funds and count it against grant. We couldn't say, oh, the interest is going to be a grant expense. They said no.
Okay.
So what you're saying is once the loan's in place, this will activate the funds from the federal?
Please, I'm sorry.
I was asking Ann if this would start the time clock on receiving the federal grant funds.
Yes, it will do that. We would have match security in place, which would allow the federal government to obligate the dollars, especially if we get through the categorical exclusion. They're looking at some research right now on backing up that pre-award authority date. That's still being researched. But if nothing else, the earliest time will be the categorical exclusion date. With this loan approval in place, whatever date that becomes, we could get a notice to proceed.
Very good, thank you.
Right. And Mark, you wanted Ann to repeat on the, your overview of the interest would not be allowed.
Right, if we were to have to draw down on these loan dollars, the interest would not be an eligible grant expense with the Chrissy grant dollars, which we wouldn't have done that anyway, but they just wanted to point that out.
Okay, copy.
So, any other questions?
Just for a point of process, what you have in front of you is what we refer to as an intake form. Once I receive that, I circulate it amongst our folks in Salem, give them 3 or 4 days to respond. Since I've already kind of talked it through, I'm not expecting any surprises, but at the end of that point in time period, that's when we will give you an application to fill out that's in more detail.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
I just want to thank Brad and Dave and Ann and all you guys for, digging in and doing what you're doing on the railroad thing. I did bring it up to pretty much every congressman and senator in Washington, D.C. when I was there. And I guess Amy from Merkley's office has joined in since then. So it's kind of neat to see that happening.
Thank you very much, Mark. The team of people from the stakeholders to the county, employees, elected officials, state people, it's been, we have a lot of interest, a lot of support. Thank you for that comment. We appreciate it very much.
To follow up with that, Amy Amrine spoke with me this morning on the phone. She is drafting a letter for both Merkley and Wyden's signature to go to the FRA to urge them to back up the pre-award date to the grant award, which would be June 7th. And then also Merkley has a meeting with the governor. And so they want to urge the importance of this project, at the state level too. So
Yep.
Thank you for talking about it back there. It's been very helpful.
Yep. That's good. So, all right. Any other questions?
No, I think I'm satisfied.
All right.
It's really awesome.
We will continue this on till tomorrow, and
Yeah.
just because that's the way we operate. Bruce?
Well, I'm happy to get this moving, so this is good.
I just want to thank Bruce Addington and Toby for their commitment to the operations of the Lake County Railroad, Goose Lake Railway, to look at and to do to analyze, to be able to pay the debt structure and everything, and commit to that. We go full loan. Appreciate that very much, Bruce.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right. I think we're done with you, Larry. Thank you for your trip over. Appreciate that. Dave? Made it. Thank you.
Sorry, Larry.
I think that's
We do have on the agenda department updates, and I'm going to put Dave on the hot seat on the airport. I think you had some pretty exciting news out there.
Yeah, just got done with the HOMA conference. Thing went well there. We learned a lot with our engineers and what we're looking at there. But as far as the airport, we got the first phase of paving done. It's completed. They're grinding. They started grinding the other phase yesterday. They're grinding it in. They're hoping to be done within 7 days from the grinding's done. So that's their goal. That's what they're saying. It could be before, but you know how things are when it comes to paving. So
awesome.
Well, the weather's changing, so that should help them quite a bit.
right. Well, but what we're running into, the Rocky Mountain, they want to wanna go deer hunting too, so they're not there right now, so, but the grinders are there, but the pavers aren't there, so hopefully they decide to come in from hunting and, pave when it's time to pave. So,
Appreciate the update on that, Dave. I mean, I actually was out there and it's come along.
well, as I think I know I've talked to Mark and I've talked to you a little bit, I don't know if I've got a chance to talk to you about the extra paving we're looking at doing, I can't.
Yeah, a little bit
Okay.
earlier on, it was a while ago.
Okay, well, we're still looking at that, if we can get the county, or we're waiting for a bid from Rocky Mountain to, it's only a little bit that we need paved to kind of complete for the FAA and the project this Connect Ours won't cover. It's just a very minute spot, but why Rocky Mountain's there is the time to do it, because their stuff's there, they're willing to do it, they're putting numbers together, but they just haven't gotten back to me yet.
Yeah,
So if we can do that, so I might be coming to you guys in the near future about a little extra dollars maybe to, we've got some dollars, but it depends on what the bid is too.
So we'll look at it. You know, that would warrant if you needed a blessing of the commissioner in a special session, we can call that
Right,
24 hours.
What I'll ask for, I'm sure.
You know, we can do that, especially where it's paving time and they've got a short window, we can
Right, and
consider that.
it's an opportunity, also with our grindings, we're getting off from the grinding, they're just sitting there piled up, and we can use that for leverage with our bid toward Rocky Mountain especially. You know, sell them the grindings for so much a ton, $10 a ton, $8 a ton, whatever it's going.
Yeah.
So that'll help us as well, it's just an opportunity, because it's gotta be done, because it's rough, where they cut off, where the FAA dollars cut us off, it's still, and we're worried about still carrying debris onto our new apron, you know, so. You don't want all that on there, so if we can clean that up, then it'll be good.
Very good.
So,
Appreciate that.
Sounds good.
okay. Thank you.
Sorry to put you on the
No,
spot, but
I
that's
actually
good
wanted to.
information.
Yeah.
It's a good update.
So they're, like I said, they're out there grinding now, and hopefully the weather will stick for them for a while, which it looks like it's going to.
Yeah. So no other department updates. Does anybody have any liaison updates? Mark?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'm good for right now.
I believe the biggest one for me was what we're acting on tomorrow, the railroad. I've been spending a lot of time into that, and thank you guys for the support on that. Fair Board, I have a Fair Board meeting tonight. I'll be a little late to that, but we have a Fair Board meeting tonight. There's a lot of things going on out there, as you know, working on the master plan, if you call it, or the whatever, working on that for a vision for the fairgrounds out there. We should have a lot of our financials and everything tonight from the fair time. Start getting all of that from our cost for all of our extra costs, and then our revenue side. This is one of the biggest things, is the fair time for revenue for the Fair Board. So that meeting's tonight. I will, as you guys know, just to let you know, once again, I do take quite a bit of time off for elk season. I'll leave next Wednesday and be gone all the next week also. So I will miss the next meeting on that meeting there. I don't like missing meetings, but you only draw elk tags every now and then.
Yeah,
So I'm comfortable with this meeting, it's just my personality. So just so you guys note that, I have limited cell service there, but I do get cell service, and I don't mind being bothered and getting emails or calls or texts. It's just the way my personality is, so don't be afraid to do something. If I don't have time, I won't respond. If I have time, I'll respond. So,
Absolutely.
just put you guys in the loop on that. So that's all I really have right at the moment.
Are you going to be available on next Monday for the DEQ visit and EPA out in Christmas Valley?
At Christmas Valley, no, I do not believe I'm going to make that. Do you know if Representative
Vicki Iverson, I believe she is going to attend.
I think that's a great one. Let me look at the promise something. I don't believe I'm gonna be there.
Okay, it'll be later in the evening, and I understand that for folks that live down here in Lakeview, it's a long way to drive. And be up there that late, so, and I don't know how late it's going to run. It starts around 6:30.
Yeah.
So,
Over the years, there's usually, it's pretty lengthy.
yeah, I imagined it might run rather long. The following morning, we also have a site visit scheduled with them out to the site after breakfast.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, I'm very comfortable as you sort of taking the lead. And I don't intend on being there. I don't see I have anything else, but I don't believe I'm going to be there.
All right, I didn't know, Mark, were you still planning on going, or do you know if you're going to be able to?
I'm kind of limited on how much driving I could,
Gotcha.
I could do.
No worries.
And so,
Okay,
my leg doesn't bend very well. So,
gotcha.
I don't know if that's gonna fly me in the car, so.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure it was still on everyone's radar.
Yeah, I seen it on your, some of your email correspondence yesterday,
All right,
so.
sounds good.
So, and the opportunity for us would be to meet the new DEQ person coming in.
Correct, Tracy England,
Yeah, which,
and he'll be taking Bob's place.
yeah, those are great opportunities. So right now, I'm not planning on it, but it may surprise people and be there.
Okay,
But,
all right, no worries.
But I'm comfortable. I know that you've put a lot of time into this, and
Mhm.
so comfortable with you.
Okay, I didn't know if I figured you were headed off to elk season
Well,
on that Wednesday, but
Yeah, so I may be doing a lot of last minute things that
Okay,
evening, to be
sounds
perfectly
good.
honest with you.
All right, sounds good. I did have one other update, real briefly. I had a meeting with Charlie Dwight at the Health District last night, and if we're gonna see if we can get both public health and mental health, Judy and Tracy, on our agenda quarterly for mental health and public health updates. And we're gonna try and get that worked into our schedule so we can have the directors giving us updates individually.
Thanks for doing that, James.
Yes,
Yep.
thank you, and I can't remember the contract, but I believe that they're supposed to do quarterly.
It is in the contract, and so we're just going to make sure that we're in full compliance and make sure that there's a good financial update on and how well things are going from the individual directors.
Thank you, perfect.
You bet.
But we're the mental health and the public health authority, and that's the way it's supposed to work, so thank you.
Correct.
So, anything else to come before us, any other?
There is something that I have, when I was back in Washington DC, I talked with Riley from Congressman Walton's office about the tax breaks from biomass on federal land.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're having a phone conference, I'm having a phone conference with him tomorrow about that. And I guess I guess what I'm saying is that we're working on a plan so we can start taking biomass off federal ground for like Red Rock and that. And so,
That's great, Mark, the work that's been done on that before you came on to get the federal lands to qualify for the RINs, for the tax break for, and I don't remember the acronym for RINs. Even tried to look at it being a pilot and everything. Be sure, and I know Senator Wyden was working on that too, and see where they're at as you're working with Congressman Walden. It'd be great. One of the uniqueness is even the sawmill down here, their chips, they're not separated out from the private lands to the federal lands. So even if they could consider a percentage of those chips that qualified, I think would be a benefit. Not speaking for Red Rock, our Collins company, but it's Collins owns a lot of private lands that would be great that if they qualify, but their log decks are multiple from private lands and public lands, so the uniqueness for that, their chips to qualify because they're all commingled. Maybe they could at minimum get a percentage, because they will know the percentage comes off of private lands, so.
Yeah, I brought them up to them too, so that is one of the things.
Good.
And anything else that you guys could think of on that matter, just send me a email.
Well, maybe you can gain some support, because of it's not just Fremont, Wainema. You would think that the Modoc Forest could be part of that pilot plan also, because of it's only 14 miles away. So the distance to be able to haul to the Red Rock Biofuels, it goes across state lines, and so whenever you go across state lines, sometimes other senators or congressmen are supportive, and then you throw in there the catastrophic fires, the forest health, and where we have getting close on this fire smoke management thing, it all fits, Mark. So
yeah.
So sometimes that added support of another senator or congressman from another state is beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Since you brought up the Modoc Forest, they've taken over around 350 horses off the gardens in the last few weeks.
Awesome.
Yeah, which is awesome for us because, of course, that's in the migratory range of our deer herd, and so the more horses they can get off there, the better. So I am going to be speaking with those guys in the next week on that, and I'll also bring up to them guys named Kins and Dusky from the Forest Service there in Modoc, and so I'll bring that up to him also.
Yeah, that is great news for the habitat and the health of the environment out there. Take that many feral horses off, that's a good thing.
Big deal. Awesome.
So, all right.
I do have a couple more updates.
Go ahead.
Talking on the forest stuff, I just really wanted a quick update. We're gonna have a NEPA training on October 8th here at the courthouse in the Memorial Hall for anyone interested.
They did decide to do it.
He's gonna go ahead and plan on it. Todd said he's just gonna go ahead and push the go button on that. And if it turns out they have to cancel, they'll cancel, but they'd like to have at least 10 people show up in order to make the training worth it. But I'm definitely probably going to attend.
Todd with the BLM?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's basically just, the NEPA training is to help the public learn more about what the NEPA process actually is, how to give comment, how to structure that comment in a way that it will be received in the best way possible, and just kind of take people through the steps on how they look at those comments and what they're actually looking for. And I think that NEPA training can be quite useful for those in the public that might not have any experience in it.
That's what well articulated.
When I was in Washington, D.C., one of the biggest things that the Eastern Oregon commissioners were pushing was the restructuring of the whole NEPA process.
Yeah.
And streamlining it. The Secretary of Interior he pretty much invited us to help them rewrite it, and so we can actually get people working again. So
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. So I really appreciate James articulating that when I talked to Todd myself. Is for the public, this is a really good educational way to know how to structure your comments, as you said, and know the right way. We so often hear, well, nobody commented. Well, when you do comment, you need to follow a good guidelines, and they'll get those reviewed and make a difference. And so if we can get people to this training would be great. The last training, there was 3 people there, Melanie, Jesse Laird, and Amda Jeremy, I believe.
Yeah.
And so if you have time, is that the same day?
That is gonna be, well, that's the same day as the site visit to
Yeah.
DEQ, but it's in the evening.
It's in the evening.
At 4 o'clock, 4 PM in the afternoon on October 8th. And, I mean, I understand that's still, it's not quite after 5 o'clock, but, I mean, I used to work at the sawmill. A lot of the sawmill guys, of course, they get off around 3:30, 3:45, you know, at least some of the day shift guys. So that could still be, you know, for some jobs, and depending on what you're working at, the working man might actually be able to attend that.
Yeah.
And it is a very useful training and for the public, and we want to make sure that that's put out there to the public, that we're trying to make this available so that people can
And
get that education.
you know, in the groups, the Cattlemen's Association, the Oregon Hunters Association, the Rocky Mountain Elk Association, and other groups, the ATV groups, and the four-wheeler groups, they all should come to this training to build because of their lifestyles and their businesses are impacted by
Correct.
a lot of this. So if we can get the interest there, then their comments are pretty well heard. So
Yep.
thank you for bringing that up. That's very good. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Also, today, we're having a housing meeting here at the courthouse, in this room. I didn't know if I had updated you guys on this at all, but we've got this room reserved from 1 o'clock till 4 PM tonight. And I believe Jane O'Keefe is attending. We've got a number of other individuals all across the county from different fields. And we're going to be talking and discussing mainly, we're not going to be focused on the workforce housing side of things, because I understand Brad's been kind of working on that with Regional Solutions. We're mainly looking at housing for people that are struggling with either whether it's substance abuse, or you say you have a single mom or something that's unable to get herself off the ground, rent is really high, and she just needs some help. We're looking at temporary housing for the most part, is what it's looking at, transitional temporary housing. The problem that we run into, Christine Albertson and I, when we attended the Oregon Housing Conference, was that there is not one single dime of both either state or federal dollars at this point that is being pushed towards transitional temporary housing. Everything is permanent because of the fact that they are pushing this concept that you have a right to housing. So it makes it really difficult if there actually is a need for something more along the lines of transitional housing. And so we've kind of been butting our heads up against this. We have Gus Bidwell coming down from Oregon Housing. He's going to be here today. And he's got a bunch of folks coming over from Klamath, and we're probably going to have maybe even a full house of about 20, 30 people. I didn't really know what the numbers were going to be until just last night and yesterday, so it's kind of, I want to make sure I updated you guys in this meeting today.
That's excellent, James. You know, affordable housing, transitional housing, independent housing, rehab type housing, I mean, what you're working on takes an array. It starts building its own tentacles out there and growing quite a bit. So
Correct.
I would assume you guys will narrow some of it down to prioritizing different things, but there's such a need here, you know.
Lots of needs.
A lot of needs.
Maybe even of a different nature.
And we're not unique to across the state. We're just unique because we have zero, basically.
No, but I mean, out of the 2 patients that we have, maybe 4 patients we have per week that come into our hospital and emergency rooms that are out of control, or they have serious issues and mental health are called, and when you get all those different parties to the table and a person ends up in room 107 or something, we have to find a way to help this person. We might only have 2 people to 3 people a month, but up at other hospitals they'll have 25 to 30. So in the grand scheme of things, I just talked about this with Charlie Twait. It's not yeah, our needs aren't maybe as big, but it's still a big deal to our people.
That's right.
And it makes a huge difference, and so we need to look at this, at the need that we actually have. Ginger Castro just updated me yesterday. She's going to look into this a little bit more, but apparently Betty, through SCOED, just got a $160,000 grant for rehab. And how those dollars can be utilized, we're not entirely sure on yet. Ginger's gonna get that information, so we'll hopefully have that this week sometime. But I'm not sure how that can be used for rehab, whether it's for housing needs or to get someone into a stable environment to where they have a support group where we can work with them, because we're paying for these people already in our jails, in our emergency rooms, to find a reasonable way to help them, where we can actually help them and get the few back out on the street that we can help, or not on the street, but back out into the world being useful members of society.
Yeah.
That's where we want to go and take this. So I just wanted to update you guys. That's going to be a big part of the conversation today between 1 and 4. You guys are more than welcome to join us. And anyone in the town, I believe actually some of the town council will be here as well.
Yes.
So.
Very good. So is Christie the lead, or who's the lead?
I think actually they've been throwing me at being the lead, but I've been making sure Christie's along with me on all this.
Absolutely. Yeah, that goes
Because
back
Christie
to-
is
yeah.
a huge, she's a wonderful grandmother. She's been an awesome person to work with, and I definitely try to keep her in the loop in all of this. And but Gus Bidwell has been kind of the guy who really helped me kind of bring this project into fruition, and just the conversations we've been having with him. And I met him through Charlie Pike, because he does a lot of work with the veterans, and this project that we're working on may have tremendous there may be tremendous opportunity for working with our veterans as well and getting them into more stable environments. And as Charlie Pike pointed out today, we have over 150 veterans from Paisley North in Lake County, and that's a big number.
It is. All right. Sounds good.
That's all I had.
All right. Mark, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. And on the money that Betty got, I believe, I don't know, but I know we'd ask her about, when we talked to wood stoves, is that there's no money for insulation windows and that other thing, so I don't know if it's for that type of rehab or it's other.
Yeah,
other
I
type
don't
of
know,
rehab.
but that's what Ginger's supposed to kind of look
Find out.
into and
Okay.
find out, so.
Okay.
I'll have maybe another update for you
But
guys.
both of them would be good, we could use either.
Absolutely.
Either one of them.
We'll take them both.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so, we will adjourn at